Hello, I'm Jeff Bloodrain and welcome back to Tailor Tale. So, there's over 28 chapters in Neil's storyline. Plus there's a couple side chapters. I was looking at them and I'm like, two or three of them are passionate, so we might have to censor those episodes probably when we get to it, depending on what it is. So, anyways, after a long day at work, I want to explore what my city has to offer, and I end up at the local park for a casual stroll during the evening. The park is mostly deserted. I see a couple of people walking their dogs. I sit down on a bench and enjoy the crickets chirping in the background. The night sky is clear and I can see the stars. Business has been going fine so far. It's hard work, but I think I've finally settled in a pace that I like. Nothing has really disturbed me from my work, even though sometimes my thoughts wander off to my memories of a certain purple-haired boy. Ever since that day in the coffee shop, I keep thinking of Neil when he was little. The memory has always held a special place in my heart, even though nothing extraordinary happened back then. He was a lost and scared little boy, and I helped him out. I just realized he thought I was a boy as well. Regardless, mixing up my gender shouldn't have Neil freaking out so much. But I can't pinpoint exactly what it is that has got Neil in such a tizzy. Not that I can really do anything about it, because I haven't really spoken to him since. I've seen him a couple times in passing, usually near the hospital. He might work there, but I'm not sure. Nevertheless, each time I see him, he's either not noticed me or pretended to not notice me. I'm annoyed by it either way. I figured we could be friends after finding out we met each other before in our childhoods. Hey, but I guess I was wrong. Suddenly, I hear someone approach me in the dead of night, and I stare into the distance to figure out who it is. What is it? Every time I read the games like this, I always struggle. Not a second later, I see Neil emerge from the darkness. His head hanging low, looking at the ground. He hasn't even noticed me. He's too engrossed in whatever he's doing. Watch him walk into something. It seems he's looking around for something, because he's checking every spot on the trail and then sighing when there's nothing there. He stops at a trash can and looks around the ground over there, crouching down to get a better view. I chew on my lip, noticing whether or not to call out to him, deciding whether or not to call out for him. Then, of course, I remember the last time we spoke, and he wasn't very welcoming back then. Alright, I'm back. I got a spam call. I get a lot of spam calls for some reason, and I'm getting sick and tired of them. They don't learn. Leave people alone. That's not an invitation to keep calling. That's an invitation to stop calling. Because they're calling me to get my personal information, which I'm not going to give them, and they don't stop. You know, I gotta wish. And they're not calling on cell phones. They're calling on like an automated system crap, manipulating the numbers that they use to be a Huntington number to think I'm going to answer. And when I don't answer, they're like, oh, Jeff's not going to answer to give us his personal information. We should keep calling him. They say things like, I've been approved for a $36,000 loan, or I owe back taxes, or I got texts a couple of times saying I owe a toll fee when I don't even drive. Like, are they stupid? I guarantee you scam calling is against the law. In fact, he wanted me to stop talking to him. Should I even bother? I watched him for a few silent seconds, deciding whether or not to approach him. Flat out ignore him. Are you looking for something? Like I said, if we go ignorant, I looked it up. I said before, the game goes a little bit more passionate if you are fights, like fierce. Are you looking for something? I asked out loud. Neil suddenly jumps back on his feet and frantically looks around to see where the noise came from. When his eyes finally land on me, he quickly composes himself and then twists his face into a skull. That is none of your business, he says. I glare at him in response. I was only asking a simple question. He didn't need to be so rude about it. It's obvious he's looking for something. Why he'd reply like that to me, I have no idea. Neil proceeds to look around like I'm not even there, and the idea of a quiet evening at the park is suddenly sullied. Are you sure you didn't lose anything? I ask. Are you always this nosy? Neil huffs at me. He turns to me. If you must know so badly, I lost a watch of mine. Want me to help you look for it? Can we make watches in this game? I offer. I'm an adult. I can manage just fine without your help, he says in a grouchy voice. Jeez. He continues to look around, ignoring me. It's so hard to get along with him. I guess having met each other when we were kids doesn't mean we get to be friends when we're adults. Yeah. Not everyone is going to be your friend, though, sad to say. That's life. The thought leaves me a little sad. I try my best to ignore Neil, but I'm starting to feel unwelcome here. What with the way he's deliberately not looking at me or searching in my general area. I decide to leave. No point in staying when I can't enjoy the peace and quiet of the night with someone rustling behind me. So I get up from the wooden bench, dust off my clothes, and start to... I walk in a fast pace because I really don't like how I can feel Neil's eyes burning a hole in my back. What the heck? That's also when I hear this piercing sound of shattering glass. I look down at my feet. It seems the heel of my shoe has driven into the glass of a silver watch. You just broke it. My mouth suddenly shapes into an O. I think I found your watch, I say nervously. I take a small step sideways and pick up the broken and expensive-looking watch. There's a huge crack in the glass. I grimace at it. I think you may be doing this on purpose, Neil says, as he's gotten caught up with me. Well, I definitely didn't do it on purpose, but I'm sure Neil will think whatever he wants to think. He snatches the watch out of my hand, inspects it, and his eyes studying the broken glass. I cringe in anticipation of what he's going to say. I require you to pay for a replacement as soon as possible. I want to protest, but I have no leg to stand on. I sheepishly nod my head. How much was it? Around £6. Oh my gosh. Around 6,000. What? I don't have that kind of money to spend, I shriek out. That's way too much. You should have thought about that before your heel punctured my watch, he says coolly. Defend yourself or apologize. Well, I'm sorry. It was an accident. I didn't see it. I apologize. You didn't see the watch that you clearly knew I was looking for? Sure, he says sarcastically. Perhaps you need an appointment with an optometrist. I've seen you trip over your own 2 feet to spill coffee over me. Then, that same foot used to shatter my watch. Clearly you are in dire need of glasses. He continues his verbal assault. I feel myself shrink at his words, unable to really say anything back to him. Yes, I've acted clumsy lately, but it wasn't on purpose. Those were honest mistakes. It could happen to anyone. It sounds like Neil's that kind of person, because I've dealt with these people in real life. He seems like the kind of person that everything minor, like the coffee being accidentally spilled on them, or the watch being accidentally broken, anything like that that's minor, that's not a big deal, he has to make it a big deal. And I've dealt with people like that. There are people out there that even if you do one mistake, one simple mistake that's not your fault, they will find a way to make it your fault and make it a big effing deal. Yeah, it's a whole federal case to them. What do you want me to do? Apologize again, I ask? I don't know how to please this unpleasant person. You can't please everyone. Neil brings a hand to his forehead and sighs. I'll contact you again regarding the watch. And I hope by then you've learned to walk on 2 feet again. I really want to punch you. Neil gives me a pointed glare and then leaves the park. I stomp the ground when he's out of my sight. What a mean jerk. Then, there was no need to keep insulting me, even though I've ruined 2 personal items items of him. If he can treat me like a human being, maybe then I'll cooperate with him. Yeah, you know that's not in his vocabulary, right? Alright, it's been a few days since my last encounter with Neil at the park, and I've all but put the memories of it behind me, secretly hoping he will just forget about it. Yeah, don't count on it. I've been quite busy with my store. There's been a new shipment of fabric, and I'm excited at all the color and textures I have available at my fingertips. I lay them out on the counter, wondering what I should create with them. Here comes Neil. The bell rings, and I look up at the door. I stop dead in my tracks when I see it's Neil again. How'd I know? Oh no, he's come for his watch, hasn't he? Just when I've put him out of my mind. He's to remind me again of what transpired. Neil looks around the store a little bit before his gaze settles on me. Good day, Mitchell. I hope you're in a better control of your balance today since the last time we met. If I'm not, I'll be sure to step on your feet this time, I reply sarcastically. Neil clicks his tongue at me, then leans his elbows on the counter, clasping his hands together and resting his chin on them. He looks over at me, studying me with his eyes. I suddenly feel a little defenseless. Let's talk about my watch. I swallow, knowing this was coming. Luckily, I am not daft enough to forget to insure such an expensive item, especially one with sentimental value. I've contacted my insurance company and will get the full amount reimbursed. I look at him blankly. Okay, that's it? He got the money back? Well, that's definitely a load off my back. This doesn't mean you're absolved of any responsibility, Neil says, in a much more serious tone. I wonder if we were to see Sarah again. He casts his eyes down to the counter, and his fingers hover over my new fabric. He seems a bit intrigued. Oh, we gotta make you something. You did still break a personal item of mine. And pray tell, what would you like me to do about that? You've already had the money refunded. There's nothing much else I can do. Unless you want to say you somehow managed to cut your finger on the broken piece of glass and want to be reimbursed for that too. Neil frowns at me, then shakes his head a little, clicking his tongue dismissively again at me. What does that mean? I'm not sure if a tiny piece of glass could ever pose a threat to me, but I'm glad you are concerned about my well-being. That's a step above yesterday's attitude. Retort back, you didn't have to be so mean about it. You didn't have to be so mean about it, I tell him. You want me to praise you? You want me to praise you for destroying my watch? He says dully. Should I have complimented you instead? That you somehow magically knew the exact spot to drive the 3-inch heel of yours through the center of the glass? Because consider it done. You did a fine job at wrecking my watch. I cringe. He does a fine job at making me feel small and insignificant. Like everything I do is wrong. It's exactly how people treat me in real life. His words cut like a sword. I feel like I can't compete and talk back. What do you want? What do you want? I finally asked him. Neil straightens his back. Last time you mentioned that you'd make a dress shirt, correct? Don't answer that. It seems an opportunity presented itself, and while I do have my own tailor who has delivered some of the best work in the country, perhaps I can make use of your. He looks down to the fabric on the counter. Skills. I can feel his words sting with venom. He's mocking me, looking down on me. And what exactly do you want, I ask, ready to decline his offer? Well, a well-tailored blazer, Neil says. I don't think I have the materials for that. Neil says as he puffs out his chest to make a point. If it's adequate and to my taste, I can forgive your previous actions. I want to decline so badly, but I do not much care for Neil's pompous attitude and the way he's subtly mocking my tailoring skills. However, I also realize I've destroyed an expensive watch of his, and mere sorry won't do it. Plus, it seems he won't leave me alone, so I sigh and hang my head down. Alright, I say. Splendid. The sooner you finish this, the sooner you can return to... He points at a mannequin standing next to the counter. This. Neil shakes his head a little. What's this doing over here anyway? You would create a much bigger impression if... Suddenly Neil grabs a hold of the mannequin and moves it away from the counter. Hey, I yell out, don't just move things around in my store. Neil drops it at a place near the entrance where the sunlight hits it. See? The way the light falls from the windows of the door would make this the perfect spot to highlight your latest fashion. No one asked you to start touching and moving my mannequins around. Put it back. Alright, we'll read a couple more and then we'll probably call it an episode. Or at least one more. I look over to me where Neil is, and I suddenly see his point. Placing the mannequin into the direct sunlight gives a better impression and makes the layout of the store more harmonious as well. Oh, it doesn't look too bad. Neil grins at me. Are you sure you want me to put it back? He asks. I have this sudden urge to wipe that smug look off his face. I scrunch up my nose. No, leave it. Just stop touching my things. You know that? You know what? I'll return another time for the measurements. How about next Friday? It's not like I can say no, so I nod my head at him. Friday is fine, I guess. Very well. I'll see you then. Good day. Neil fixes his collar, then looks at the mannequin with a nod and leaves the store. I'm never going to get rid of this guy, am I? And alright, we are back here, moving on to Neil's 7th chapter. And with that being said, we are going to end this episode of Tailor Tales. I'm Jeff Buttering. I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you next time.